Welcome back.
Us two again.
Probably sick of seeing us, but it's in good vibes today. We are reacting to the Arsenal-Liverpool match at Anfield, where Liverpool just won by one wonder goal to nil. Kev, initial reactions right off the bat. How are you feeling?
Relief with the 3 points. Fantastic goal. 3 wins from 3, given the size that we're playing against at the start of the season. Bedding in the new side with so much work yet to be done in this. It's a massive win. That's a massive 3 points. We know performances are going to improve. You can just feel it. But yeah, it was a hard watch. No doubt about it. It was an absolute hard grind to watch that. But look, it's what a goal. What a banger. And it was always going to be the way you got two quality sides. They cancel each other out in the pitch. And neither keeper really had much to do. It was a tight, tense, top of the table game against sides who are going to be battling each other all season. And to come away with 3 points is absolutely huge. And I'm bearing in mind this before 10 o'clock. I'm not swearing. They're really good. Fill in the blank where I stop.
Oh, there's no rules here. There is. Here. Kev's trying to be on his best behavior.
It won't last.
I don't even think I introduced us as the Talkin Kop. I was so excited. We are the Talkin Kop, just in case I did forget that. So it's just two of us. So we're going to try to walk through the game play by play. Normally we have Matt kind of walking us through. So I'm going to do my best. I took some notes. So let's start at the beginning, Kev, and just walk through maybe any surprises that you felt in either of the two lineups.
The lineup for us was nobody picked Ahmed Szoboszlai to be starting at right back. The question we were all wondering was, is he even going to start? Would Szoboszlai start? Everyone expected Bradley to start. And we both done a preview of this, and I think even everyone in the chat.
We did say last night, in fairness,
yes,
if Bradley wasn't fit, we'd throw Szoboszlai there. So we were
100%.
Completely off.
Yeah, we're not complete imbeciles, but
sometimes.
But it was that was genuinely a surprise. But at the same time, Arsenal's lineup surprised me in a big way, where they went completely physical, look for a powerful midfield. Surprised Eze didn't start. I mean, he's had a full preseason. There was no reason not to start him. I think Arsenal was a conservative lineup, to be honest. But yeah, Szoboszlai starting for us was the surprise. But it was the only surprise, to be fair. You looked at the bench as well, and our bench wasn't too bad. It had a bit of depth and a bit of strength to it. The only thing that's always going to be a worry for us at the minute is, up front, 20 minutes to go, what can we do to affect change if we need to affect change? And that's just been a continuing issue for the entirety of the season so far. But as it stands at the minute, we'll deal with it. But hopefully we'll get some movement in the next few hours. But lineup wise, Szoboszlai. And I'll be honest, I was kind of worried about Konate as well, given the performance he's had in the first 2 games. I thought Gyökeres would give him a lot more trouble than what he did. We'll talk about Ibu in a bit.
Yeah, there's a few people in our defense that actually, I think, stepped up in quite a big way. I agree with you. I think that the Arsenal lineup actually surprised me a little bit more in the sense that it just felt like they were picking their biggest lads to go in there, and there was not that much creativity. I thought surely if Odegaard couldn't play, which was surprising in and of itself that he didn't start, that Eze would step in because they needed the creativity from somewhere. And they just didn't have that anywhere. And I don't think Zubimendi gave that to them. It just looked like they were playing for set pieces. And to our credit, I think that we defended set pieces incredibly well today. And we'll go into that in detail. A couple fun facts about this match. The last time that Arsenal won at Anfield was 2012 when Mikel Arteta was actually a player. He has yet to win at Anfield as a coach. The only other place he hasn't won is the Etihad. So it's these two that are his kind of last bucket list. He was not able to do that today. When they started playing, that's
brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great fact. Hughes throws in the last time Arsenal won at Anfield, James Milner had already played 10 years in the Premier League. He's on his 23rd season. That's fantastic. The other fact that I heard about James Milner, which is a total tangent, is that he has now scored against goalkeepers that were born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And when the goalkeeper he scored against today was 1 month old when James Milner made his debut, which is just insane.
I know it's a complete tangent. We're all here to react to Arsenal, Liverpool, and what have you. James Milner stepping up to take that penalty today, the celebration, everything about it. Everything about James Milner at the minute is just absolute magic. Delighted for him. And when he took that penalty away, it was a proper pen. That wasn't getting saved. Last time he'd scored in a game in the Premier League was 2019. So he was due. He was due. And fair play to him. What a way to get his 23rd season up and running.
And to tie it back into this game, because there is something there. That loss for City kind of set this game up as something where there's a little bit more on the edge, a little bit more on the line. I wasn't expecting City to drop points again today. I think they're level with West Ham at this point.
Yeah.
With their points, which is mental. So going into the game, I don't know if the teams felt any more pressure. I think it's such an early game that I don't know if you can really bill this as a title decider. I don't know if you can say it's any of those things. There were a lot of pundits that I was listening to that were like, Arsenal need this more. They need to make a statement. For me, it did not look like as the game started that Arsenal was going out with the intention of making a statement, other than like going hard into tackles. I was very surprised at the tactics. Kev, were you surprised at just how conservative they were and how, little, I don't know, they just didn't have any drive until they went down.
Well, I'll be honest, right? The first thing that I've written down here is Arsenal 4-4-2. And it was off the ball in their press. I thought in their press off the ball, we held the ball in our final third around Addison and the back four a lot, way too much in the first half. And they pressed with 5 all the time. And there had to be space somewhere in the pitch for us to be able to play through and play into, but we just never really got to grips with that. I mean, I honestly think Arteta went into that today thinking, right, whatever happens, don't lose. If we get a set piece, if we get ahead, hold the lead, don't lose. They hadn't conceded in the league up until today, and they didn't concede in their last game in pre-season either. So, and they are notoriously hard to score against. They have been for a while. Arsenal's biggest problem always for the last few years has been scoring enough goals and scoring meaningful goals in big games. It's it was a tough one for us to watch. But 4 minutes in, William Saliba goes down injured, and Mosquera comes on, making his debut away at Anfield. Probably the best thing that could have happened to him was he didn't. It's really early in the game, didn't have time to think about it. Just get on the pitch and play. And we didn't help ourselves in how we pressed how we pressed Raya. We forced a few mistakes, but we were generally pressing with 3, maybe 4 players sometimes. So it was almost a case of, look, we know Arsenal are going to try and go long to Gyökeres and work off of it. So we kept an extra player back to try to win the second balls and retain possession that way, rather than take the gamble and try to press them further up the pitch with the risk that they could win a flick on and get in behind us with Martinelli or with Madueke. So, look, it's paid off. We got a clean sheet and a 1-0 win, but at the same time, it's a really high risk to be to be doing that. And I don't think we'll see it too often this season either.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a win in Arsenal for, I think it's 3 years at this point. There's lots of draws in there. They're almost all draws. So clearly something had to change. And so I think, I don't know, going into this, as I was watching the first half, it definitely felt to me like Slot had just decided this last week was just going to be a defensive masterclass in terms of that's what they were going to train. They were going to train defending set pieces. They were going to try to keep a clean sheet. It felt like, the forward line almost took a back seat. And we were playing for that clean sheet first and foremost. And I'm kind of okay with that, just given how leaky we've been defensively and how much that's been an issue. And I think that, it was definitely a boring watch. I mean, there was very, very little kind of to talk about in, I want to say, the first half altogether. No. Is there anything that stood out to you, let's say in the first 30 minutes, that kind of drew your attention other than, for me, Arsenal was diving quite a bit. They were trying to play for cheap free kicks, and they were really going heavy into the tackle, and we were not getting anything in terms of any calls.
But I think he left that go for both sides. We weren't really aggressive at all in the tackle. When we lost the ball, it was a case of, okay, retain shape, try to get possession back. And we were very risk-averse in the first half. Very risk-averse. We tried to play it through a few times, but the first half hour, I mean, I've just got it written down here, 25 minutes, need to be more aggressive. You could call it passive. We were very tentative about getting the ball forward and almost afraid of, we were playing with a fear, of if we go behind to these, we are in real trouble. And I think you look at the subs that he made later on in the game. McAllister comes off, we knew. Ekitike comes off, we knew. Wirtz comes off with a muscle, but Wirtz was just a passenger for most of the game. Well, for the first, exclusively for the first half, he was a passenger. And Salah looked like he was completely, totally isolated because Szoboszlai couldn't support him enough to be able to create an overload. And Calafiori did really well against Mo in the first half. So the only really outlet that we had was to try to get the ball up to Ekitike for him to maybe hold it. And his service was atrocious in the first half. And maybe try and pump one out to Gakpo to win a header against Timber and work from there. I thought in the first half, our outlets for anything was really poor. The most notable thing for me in the first half was Virgil, for once, being really aggressive, getting out ahead of the press, winning a rare goal kick, winning it and carrying the ball and tried to lay it off to Mo. Other than that, Raya had nothing to do in the first half. I think Alisson had one save to make. That was from a corner that went out to Madueke, and he had a pop shot. And, it was a comfortable save for Alisson. But the best thing about the first half and the best thing about the entire game completely was how we defended their corners. From a defensive point of view, we were absolutely brilliant defending their set pieces. Declan Rice's delivery is very good. It forces you into making decisions. Forces you into having to do something to make a clearance. And I thought we managed that absolutely fucking brilliantly all game long. So delighted with that. Best part of the game, other than the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a lot of corners, but the one thing, and it's, Arsenal has a lot of excuses, and I'm sure this will come out as one of their excuses, is they don't do a lot of outswingers. Normally they have Saka on that side to take those corners, and you had Rice going over there, putting in the outswingers, and they just don't look as effective at all. I don't think that was down just to the fact they were outswingers. I think that was down to the fact that we defended them extremely well. And I think Virgil was great there. I think Ekitike adds a lot of height there. And I think later on, even Gomez, I thought, did a really good job there. One person I definitely want to call out as an improvement in the defensive line, especially first half, is Kirkes, who I think has had a bit of a rough time the last couple of games. And he was up against Madueke, who I thought looked their most dangerous player.
Yeah.
There were a number of times where he got on the dribble. A lot of it was down to Kirk's poor positioning, so I'm not giving him like a 10 out of 10 rating. But the way that he was able to get back and cover for his mistakes, for me, that showed a lot of growth from the first 2 games to now. And his discipline just seemed a little bit better. So I just wanted to call him out. Kev, did you notice an improvement in him as well?
Oh, massively. The biggest improvement that I saw in Kirk was the first time he went to ground was on the young kid at about 95 minutes.
I mean, that was great.
It was, but it was a brilliant tackle, but it was a really well-timed tackle because he didn't go to ground all game. So he wasn't expecting it. Kirk, I thought, did as well as he could have done against Madueke. Madueke is a good winger. You know, he's an out-and-out winger. And he's quick. So the only time that Madueke got the better of him for pace, Kirk has angled his run around him in the first half to put a block in, to put the ball out for a corner. So defensively, he was really, really solid. Look, the only thing, and I felt sorry for him in the second half, he made that overlapping run constantly and never got the ball once and never bitched and moaned about it. He made that lung-bursting run all the time. Yeah, RC makes a point there. Kirk is focused 10,000%. Not diving in rash, balanced, kept his head. Exactly that. He read the situation really well, knew what he was coming up against, and learned. He's learned enough. He's improved. He's kicked on a bit since, you know, his debut. You know, and understand, I think, Ashley, you made the point in the post-match after the Bournemouth game that, you know, he's gone up against his old club, his mates. He knows what they're like. He knows what they're going to be up about. And he was going to ground way too much. He's way too rash. Today, I thought he didn't get caught touch tight very often. So he judged his distances really well. And overall, I thought he had a really, really good game. I was really, really pleased with his performance.
Yeah, I was definitely pleased with it. I mean, I'm just going through my notes for the first half.
The Moreno dive.
I'm kind of getting up to that. Walk me through the Moreno dive, because there's a couple more things that I want to talk about as well.
Cross came in. The ball was going over his head. And I mean, going way over his head. And he just went and done like, you know, when you're in the swimming pool.
It's like a dead fish. It jumps up into the air and then flops.
You know, if you're going on a diving board and you go 1, 2, 3, and you slip and you just fall into the water and you land on your back and you're like, I really hope nobody saw that. and he was just sat there like screaming and bitching and moaning. And Virgil was looking at him with utter disdain.
Virgil was pissed off.
Yeah, I think he scored 2 and 2 against us last season. And he's a good player. He doesn't need to do that, Mikel Moreno. It's like the ball was nowhere near. And there was a few niggly little things like that, but you're going to get stuff like that from corners, but that was embarrassing. That was really bad.
It felt like that was what they were doing, though. It felt like they were looking for those, like, you know, almost as if and it's weird because I don't think that we were outplaying them whatsoever, and I don't think they needed to do that. I don't think they needed to kind of try to play for free kicks. I mean, that was at 35 minutes. There was another one kind of further, I'd say it was 38 minutes, where Gyökeres sets up Timber, and the shot goes against Virgil, and then Calafiori has a pretty strong shot just wide. There was a controversial deflection, and there was a corner given. Thankfully, nothing came from it, but that, I think, was their most dangerous kind of attack of the entire first half.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a deflection at all.
I don't think so either. And there was a couple of times where the referee almost changed his mind after it looked like a little bit of Arsenal pressure. Yeah. I mean, that's just me. I could be making that up, but it just seemed like he was quite easily swayed. I'll put it that way. Yeah. There was another penalty attempt or call at 44 minutes where Timber was down in the box. McAllister was behind him, and Timber just sort of falls over Alexi McAllister. I don't know if you saw this one. It was also reviewed by VAR, and there was nothing that came of it. But again, it was very much like we're just going to fall and try to make the contact happen rather than playing for – they weren't interested in playing the ball at all. They were just interested in falling over and trying to con
I seen that one, and I thought, look, after everything that you've seen so far this season with VAR, if you don't go to ground, you're not going to get nothing. And if you're not going to get the ball, then go to ground. And players will. It's not a good look, but I think of all of and there was a few penalty shouts today, but none of them. I don't think any of the decisions that were made that Kavanagh made today are going to be on Ref Watch on Tuesday night. I think all in all, he had a pretty. The game played out normally. I think he let it go for both sides in general, and I think the bookings that he gave were fair enough. They were legit. They were bookings, and I thought the game it never got out of hand. And you've seen Liverpool Arsenal games get out of hand in the past. Tempers free, and I think later on in the season, a Liverpool Arsenal game could, really kick off. But I thought this early in the season, he didn't have the worst refereeing performance of the weekend by any stretch.
No, I don't think so.
It's a low bar, mine, but in fairness.
There were so many bad calls this weekend. So, yes, it's a very, very low bar. I mean, that honestly is all the notes that I have for the first half.
Yeah.
Up until then, I was just kind of taking a couple notes about certain facts about this fixture, really, where, you're talking about Liverpool being unbeaten in 18 since Forest, and then you had Arsenal unbeaten in 16 away. Their last defeat was in November to Newcastle. So it really, I think I described it the other day as like the unstoppable force meets the immovable object or something of that sort.
Yeah.
And it felt like that at halftime. Was there anything that you were looking for from Slot to kind of make some adjustments for at halftime? Were you sort of like, okay, this is just the direction of travel? I don't know if there's anyone off of our bench that was, for me, like a clear, this person will come on and fix it. What were you feeling at halftime?
All I kept looking at was Arsenal in their 4-4-2, thinking we've a 3-man midfield. Where is the space? At halftime, find where the space is. You have analysts on the bench watching iPads, looking for exactly this. Florian Wirtz done my head in the biggest way possible, because there were times in the first half when he was dropping way too deep. And then there was other times when he wasn't occupying the space that you need him in to be able to play through. And the other side of it is we seem very worried about playing the ball through from Van Dijk into Gravenberch or McAllister on the turn. And when we started doing that in the second half, that's the only thing I wanted really to change for the second half. We're very good at keeping the ball around the back and drawing pressure on. But if you're going to draw pressure on, you have to have runners from midfield to be able to drop and spin. And you saw it early in the first half. I think it was Gravenberch got in between the two centre-backs, made a pass into midfield. The ball came back to Van Dijk, but Gravenberch went and occupied the space that the guy who was chasing the ball went to. And that, in turn, he took the ball on the half-turn and carried it 10 yards. It's a simple little thing, but all it is about manipulating space and manipulating players into positions that you want them to be in by moving the ball short distances. And by doing that, we were able to get on the half-turn and get on the front foot. And I thought that was completely missing in the first half. And we started to see it more and more in the second half, right up until on the hour mark. And on the hour mark, it changed. The crowd got up. The crowd got up on the hour. And the songs that came, and they didn't stop. And it was like the crowd dragged the performance out of the players, because what they were seeing couldn't have been inspiring anyone. I look forward to hearing from Shawnee when he comes back, because Shawnee's over there this weekend, and see what it was like in the ground, because I have a feeling that once the hour came and the levels went up, the noise levels went up, the performance levels went up, and it did. Everything changed on the hour. Chris makes the point. The Curtis Jones substitution for Alexis McAllister. I mean, just before that, we'll come to Curtis Jones in a minute, because just before that, 59 minutes, Ekitike had a goal and it was disallowed for offside.
Yeah, so let's walk through this. So Wirtz gets the ball. he gets a pretty strong shot into Raya, and Raya fumbles the ball. Ekitike is there. We don't know where he's at the moment. So at that point in time, he gets cleaned out by Raya. I think that would have been a clear penalty. And then the ball was bundled into the net, and I was over here like, yay, fantastic. The flag goes up, and Ekitike is offside.
Yeah.
Ekitike is offside before there's contact made with the keeper, and that pretty much negates anything that happens from that point onward. For me, there's really nothing contentious about this whatsoever. It was offside. I think Ekitike could have held back. I don't think he needed to. I don't think he needed to do that.
I think it's just one of them, isn't it? That when the ball's bounced, when someone has a shot, your instincts as a forward is to chase it in, and I think O'Sheen makes the point there. He knew he was offside straight away. It was one of those that I agree with you. I think if he was level and he wasn't offside, there's definitely a shout for a penalty. But it was Gakpo that finished it, I think. But that showed from then on, we started to really be more aggressive in our passing, and we started to manipulate players around the pitch much, much better. And Curtis Jones coming on made a massive
and that
impact.
was right at that point. Curtis Jones comes on at 61 minutes. Chris had made the point in our WhatsApp chat. He was asking, was McAllister fit? I don't think he's 100% fit. Like, he's fit enough to play, but and I thought he made a difference in our midfield. I thought that our midfield looked a lot more solid and less porous. But I think when Jones came on, he added that little bit of energy that we needed, and he was occupying that space kind of right in the middle. He has the ability to just pick up the ball and hold onto it and drive it into space in a way that I kind of expect Florian Wirtz to be able to do, but Wirtz was getting bullied. And I think there's this elephant in the room with Wirtz where, I don't think anyone that's calling him a flop or anything of the sort needs to get off of that high horse. But we do need to recognize that the Bundesliga is not quite as physical as the Premier League, and Wirtz is going to need to adjust to that.
Yeah.
He's going to need to figure out how to manipulate his body to deal with that. And I think having, a Mo Salah in the team who knows all about that as a smaller player is perfect for him. He will get there. I just think, it's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, so when Jones comes on, I think that there's definitely an uptick there. 62 minutes right after that, there's a penalty claim on Ibu Konate. So Gabriel has a shot, and the ball goes in. The Arsenal players were asking for this, but upon review, this was in no way, shape, or form a penalty for me. No. Ibu's arm was very clearly close to his body in a natural position. Did you have any other view on this?
I thought it hit his back. I honestly thought it hit his back or his shoulder. I didn't think it hit his arm at all. But at that stage, Arsenal had already dropped off in their shape. On the hour, you definitely notice Arsenal's in the first half, 4-4-2 was very aggressive, very front foot, trying to force mistakes, make us make our passes from deeper. On the hour, they dropped into a mid-block, and we started to enjoy more space, and we were able to make passes through midfield. And I think at that stage, they were going to shout for everything. And that was never a penalty in a million years. The thing is, you can tell the state of the game and how we're really trying to drag out something to talk about. We got our first corner in 71 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That was the thing for me that stood out more than anything, was we never really worked into positions to work Raya enough. Bearing in mind we were at home. And
we didn't have we didn't have a touch in their box, I believe, for the first 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, 35.
Nothing.
Like no.
So it was definitely a conservative approach from us, 100%.
But Ibu went off on 76 minutes. I didn't know if that looked like a thigh strain. I don't know if we won't know for a while, but I fully expect him to be pulled from the France squad. We'll find out in the next few days. No, the thing is, we won't find out. That's the irony of Liverpool. Are very, very slow about about releasing medical information when it comes to players with injuries. But yeah, that does look a bit like a thigh strain to me anyway. But see,
Yeah,
Joe Gomez
worrying.
coming on, and I thought, ooh, 15 minutes ago, nervy. Joe going in at centre back, probably the first time he's played at centre back in a meaningful game in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's nervy, especially just given the context of everything that's going on. I mean, we heard this morning that there was a bid put in from AC Milan for Joe Gomez. That hasn't gone anywhere. But, you know, we've got this Guehi thing that's sort of looming in the background. It looks like he is starting for Palace this evening or afternoon, depending on where you're at. So there's definitely a something going on with our center backs, and I think that this needs to be addressed immediately. And we've seen it with Konate. You know, there were lots of people that were saying, was last year the anomaly because he tends to be injury prone, and there was really no one around him when this happened. It looks like he was holding that upper thigh area. I mean, he did take on board, you know, immediate fluids and those quick carbs, so it made me think maybe it was something related to cramp. I hope that it's something related to cramp rather than an upper thigh strain, because I don't know how long that's going to take for him to recover from. But that defensive area needs that reinforcement. We need to get Guehi in through the door. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. And I don't actually want to see Joe Gomez leave
Fuck no.
at all. I don't want those two things to happen at the same time. I think that we actually need them both, because I don't know where Leone is. I haven't watched him play. I don't know if he's going to be playing more for the youth or if he's going to be playing for us. But, you know, you look at Arsenal and the sheer number of defenders that they have and the number of defenders that they actually go through and need to use sometimes. I don't have a problem with us having 4 senior center backs and 1 kind of youth prospect. I think that's actually a really great place to be, and I'd be worried if we had any less.
Yeah. Joe came on. He was brilliant.
He was immense.
He was brilliant. He was calm. And the best thing about Joe, I suppose, and you always have that, because he's so comfortable at fullback on either side. You know he's good on the ball. You know you can trust him with a firm pass back to him, or if a ball is misplaced back to him, you know he'll control it and he'll make the right decisions more often than not. And they did try to target him. You know, Gyökeres pulled straight onto him and they tried to target him aerially. He won his headers. You know, he was really strong. I thought it was really good performance from him. Exactly what we needed as well. Because at this stage, when he came on, 76 minutes, 0-0, really tight game. You knew that the game was probably going to be turned on a mistake or a piece of brilliance. You know, it definitely didn't look like a game that was going to be decided by intricate passing play or, you know, anything of the sort. The only thing that you look at in the second half, the amount of times that Cody was able to chop onto his right foot and try to get shots off or try to get passes off from that side, he was able to do it in the second half. And a lot of it really became from Kerkez making that brilliant overlapping runs to take Timber away that gave Gakpo the space to be able to do it. But ultimately, look, I mean, we'll come to it now. 32 yards.
Yeah, so 32 yards. So it's 80 minutes. We have Jones, doing what we were just talking about, holding onto that ball, kind of approaching the edge of the penalty box. And Zubamendi, in a sort of poetic justice, is the one that makes that foul. He seems a little bit foul happy. At least that's how it was described in my commentary. He gets a yellow card there, and we're looking at this, or I'm looking at this, and being like, this is a little bit far out. You've got Mo Salah on the ball. You've got Szoboszlai. Virgil was there as well. I think Gakpo was even there. And you're wondering, okay, like, what are they cooking up? Are they going to do one of those little Mo Salah touches that brings it closer to the, that changes the angle or whatever? And then, Mo Salah begins to walk away and you're like, okay, it's a Szoboszlai special. We've seen this happen before. We know he can do it. We've all seen that one international goal that's on repeat on Twitter. But at 32 yards, that's a significant distance to goal. And the Arsenal wall is big, it's tall. And Raya, I think, is probably one of the better keepers when it comes to this kind of situation. But Szoboszlai steps up. He absolutely pinpoints that goal. Like, it's it's not in the top corner, but it's in the side netting, right? It kisses off of the bar. There is absolutely no keeper in the world that's saving it. Raya actually steps in that direction, assuming that he's going to go there, and he's not even close. Like, no. Raya could have started 2 seconds beforehand, and he wouldn't have gotten even close. And it was absolutely picture perfect, worthy of winning the game, and one of those things that we know Szoboszlai can do. So it was one of those moments of beauty. And I think that we've been spoiled this season for almost these dramatic moments, these dramatic winners. Like, this is 3 in a row where you're like, I couldn't have imagined a better way to win this game. What was your response to this beautiful free kick?
I honestly looked at it, right? He's got this technique when he hits the ball, kind of like Ronaldo. Ronaldo does his side foot, where he just like hits the ball dead center, side of his foot, and it dips over the top. Szoboszlai hits it with the front of his foot, and it can move either way. He's just got, and the best thing about this, it was far enough out. He only had a 3-man wall. I think Szoboszlai, when he takes free kicks and they're in and around the 18-yard box, his technique will fall down. But the further out he is, the better chance he has of being able to get the ball to move. And if you can get the ball to move and get it on target, he's going to give every keeper a massive problem. But when you see this hit from the ref cam that they had, and you look at the actual time that the keeper has to react, keeper has no chance. Keeper's never getting it in the month of Sundays. It's right in the top bins, and it's out. It's always going away from the keeper with the angle that he hit it at. It was a phenomenal free kick. If you see a better free kick this season, good luck. That was an outstanding goal. And you felt it was going to be a goal like that, either a mistake or a goal like that to decide this one. And I'm delighted it was in our favour. But yeah, absolute roaring off the top of my head I was.
Chris threw in an interesting fact, courtesy of Michael Reed, who I do trust on these facts.
Yeah.
He says that Dominic Szoboszlai is only the 3rd Liverpool player to score a direct free kick winner in a 1-0 Premier League win. He follows Danny Murphy for the Man United game in December of 2000 and Xabi Alonso against Sunderland in August 2005. So that's your quiz question for the future. But yeah, just an absolutely phenomenal moment of brilliance, which seemed to be the only thing that was going to break this deadlock.
I think didn't that goal come from Virgil passed it into Jones? Jones took it on the half turn and then went on. And that's one thing I suppose that you look at Curtis Jones when he came on. It's one thing he's really good at. He protects the ball really well, and he can carry the ball. And he did it a few times where he carries us up the pitch. But just a simple thing like that, Virgil being able to see the pass into midfield and someone in midfield being that you trust to be able to look after it. And that's all it did. It just gave us a chance. But what a hit. What a hit.
Yeah, I that is very much a goal of the season contender. It's probably it's almost certainly going to win the August goal of the month, at least for Liverpool. So one thing that did happen following that is Arsenal kind of woke up and decided that they wanted to play a game of football. So I have a couple of different sort of drives into the box, primarily Eze, who really is just a fantastic dribbler. There was one at 84 minutes where he drove through the area. There was a ricochet. He sent Gomez to the wrong side. But Gomez did really, really well to recover there. So Gomez was on the wrong side as Eze was driving in toward the goal. And, that could have quite easily been a penalty. But Gomez, he puts a gentle hand on the shoulder. No pull, no nothing. No. But he handles Eze in such a composed sort of senior center back performance, which is exactly what Joe Gomez is. But it's been such a long time since we've seen Joe Gomez in that role that we forget sometimes that he is elite when he's fit there. And I just thought that was an example of his just sort of absolute defensive masterclass when he came on.
Yeah, it was. He did enough to put him off, but not enough to draw the ire of the official. The official, I mean, Kavanagh was right on the spot. He waved it off straight away, and it was almost a case of Eze needed to get that shot off earlier and try. Look, the worst case scenario for Eze there: get the shot off, force a corner, force Allison into pushing it out into the middle of the goal, force him to do something. Whereas he took the extra touch and he fumbled himself. The other thing that Eze did, and I think it was probably the first time that Dominic Szoboszlai was done, was a brilliant bit of skill that he took him. He took Szoboszlai in on the end line and got in to try to make something happen. But other than that, he didn't really get much change out of him.
I think it was Joe Gomez again that was covering there that stopped him from getting in. And he definitely did Szoboszlai on the end line there.
But so that was in injury time. So you when you look at the fact that Szoboszlai was playing out of position against Martinelli all day, Martinelli got nothing out of it.
Yeah, there was another fantastic Gomez clearance that I don't want to pass over right around 86 minutes where Gyökeres is right in front of the goal. He's right in front of Allison. And I thought he had a really quiet game. I didn't even know he was on the pitch for the first half. But Gomez gets just in front of him and is able to clear that ball out of danger at 86 minutes. And I thought that was probably their most dangerous moment of the second half. That was sort of the heart and mouth moment. And there really wasn't that many of them. But I thought that was fantastic. I was shocked when the clock went up for 7 minutes. I know that I
couldn't get over that.
Like, I know there was that Konate went down, but he wasn't down for 7 minutes. And there were substitutes, but I mean, I was shocked. That very much felt like to me, like, the Premier League is trying to give Arsenal as much time as possible to, level this up so that we can keep this going. That's my tin hat.
I can't think if there was a VAR check or anything in the second half. There was a disallowed goal.
A few, penalty claims that it didn't stop the run of play, though. Like, it was just happening in the background.
Yeah, there was the offside goal. There was the delay in setting up the free kick. There was a couple of injuries, but nothing major. But I couldn't get over 7 minutes. I thought 7 minutes was a bit ridiculous. But I have it there. 88 minutes. Wirtz went down injured, and Endo comes on. And I'm like, okay, we're in Endo time.
Gum shield time.
Yeah, we're in gum shield time. But when I saw 7 minutes, I thought, in 7 minutes, they'll work a chance. They'll get a chance. And you always, if your side is behind or something, or trying to get back into a game, you see 7 minutes, that has to give you a lift. And if you're a side defending, that has to be deflating when you see that ball go up for 7 minutes. And how many times have we done it? You see that clock go, and that you're going to work one good chance. But I thought defensively today, to a man, we kept our shape really, really well. And Allison, as I said, he didn't really have to do anywhere near as much as what you'd have expected.
Yeah. So, I mean, closing it out, we had, again, I feel like Arsenal has this habit of really trying to just mimic Liverpool in every single thing they do. And bringing Max Dowman on at the end of that game felt very much like a carbon copy of, what Rio did, and Arteta kind of trying to get that same sort of super sub moment for his young kid. I do not think that was the right move from Arteta to bring Max Dowman on. He's 15 years old, and we're in a situation where needs must with Rio. I don't think there's a necessity to put on a 15-year-old kid at the end of that game. I don't.
I don't either. I'm just looking at this. He made 4 subs in the game. He brought on Mosquera early, brought on Eze, Odegaard on 70 minutes, and then he put Dowman on 90. He left Lewis Skelly on the bench. He left Nwaneri on the bench, and he left Trossard on the bench. And even the changes that he did make. Okay,
why would you bring on Dowman instead of Trossard, who is notoriously one of our worst enemies? And Trossard loves scoring against us. Loves it. He's tortured us so many years. He did it at Brighton. It's crazy to me that he would leave him on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, we made 4 changes as well. We had Jones come on, Gomez come on, Chiesa came on, and Endo. You know, we still had Robertson, Bradley, Elliott, and Rio Gamoa on the bench. So it was a case of like, and credit where it's due, it would have been very easy for Arne Slot to throw Andy Robertson on as a third centre back and just really try to lock it out, but he never did. You know, he brought Endo on and stiffened up the midfield, kept the back 4, and just went 4-5-1 and let Chiesa up front on his own. And towards the very end, Chiesa had that run right at the very end, and it was we ended up getting a corner from it, and the ball was always on the, you know, the ball was there to be played out to Salah, and he never did. He carried it and kept it and held it and tried to work a shot and won a corner. Chiesa, it was the only thing that Chiesa really did on the ball when he came on, but it was definitely the right decision to do, because the whole point of that at that time of the game is kill the clock. You know, you take a risky pass out to Mo and he loses it there. They're on the front foot and they're going. Whereas we managed to take probably a minute and a half out of the clock just by Chiesa making that decision. So little things.
Yeah, and another little thing that I don't want to miss is Endo absolutely rugby tackling Quick.
Loved it.
Oh my goodness. It was a full-on like WWE wrestling move, and that is exactly what he's there for. Like, you know, we lauded James Milner earlier, and Endo has that James Milner spirit. You know, and he's in there for, you know, all of, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and he does that, and it's like, that's all I needed you to do. You didn't need to do anything else, just that. I'm so incredibly thrilled. And I just, you know, credit where credit is due to Endo, because there were so many times where we thought this guy's going to leave. He's going to be one of the first ones to kind of be sent out. And he has fought for his spot and deservedly is staying, as far as I know. I hope nothing changes in that regard. But I mean, like, what an absolute warrior. Just, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else you need to say about him, but it's just amazing.
You have to. He is what he says on the tin. You know, he's as honest as the day is long, and he's good at what he's good at. So as long as he's not asked to do anything stupid like play right back again, he'll be absolutely fine.
Never again, please.
Yeah, a couple of things in the chat there. Go Liverpool 1-2-3. Anyone know if there's a 10 p.m. show this evening?
Yes,
there absolutely is.
Yes, there is.
Gav, Keith, and Emmett will be back on tonight, 10 o'clock.
Shawnee's not on because he's currently in Liverpool.
Yeah, so Shawnee's in Liverpool.
We can't help that.
Yeah, so that will definitely be on. And the other one that's in the chat is Anthony is asking, is Mark Guehi playing for Palace tonight? If he is, does it mean he'll be staying at Palace?
He is playing.
He is playing.
I don't think that means anything.
No, I don't think it means anything either. But I just think it's really, really high risk to allow for Liverpool if there is a serious bid in for him, and we are seriously looking at bringing him in, allowing him to play in that game tonight, given the fact that Emi Martinez was pulled from it. It's really, really high risk.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a way that we could have Hughes kind of call up, you know, Glasner and say, pull Guehi, we just had an injury to Konate, that'd be fantastic. But I don't think that could happen. But the minute that Konate went down, I mean, alarm bells were ringing all over the place for me. And Hughes was there at the stadium today, so he would have seen that happen.
Yeah.
Not that he needs illuminating on this at all.
100%.
I think that we're going to see movement on this. I hope this evening, I hope we get, you know, all the things happening tomorrow morning, because we're out of time at this point.
Exactly. We are out of time.
We are out of time.
Madge is making the point here. Mark G is looking really good against Villa. Not surprised. Mark Guehi is a fucking phenomenal centre-backs.
He is.
So, yeah.
And we'll be lucky to have him if we can get him.
Exactly.
So
do you want to go through the quotes?
Yeah. So I have the quotes in here. I'm just going to run through them. So let's see. I'll start here. Szoboszlai was asked post-match on his technique. He said, "It depends on the distance. When it's so far like today, I do what I did today. When it's closer to the goal, I use the inside of my boot more." there was a quote. Let's see. There was a quote from Schmeichel next, which I just threw in there because I thought that this was a pretty aggressive stance. Schmeichel says, "I have never in my life ever wanted a team to win a game of football more than Liverpool today. Arsenal bring an ugly brand of football to our game," which
harsh.
Yeah.
Someone is definitely carrying baggage.
But,
yes, someone is definitely carrying baggage from the Wenger area.
And kind of going with ex-players, Roy Keane came in. He said, Arsenal's attacking player is just not good enough. Their forwards have to take more risks. Again, very much just saying it like it is. Yeah, I tend to kind of agree with him there.
But if they come and turn around and win 1-0 away from a corner, you're having it.
It's going to be set-piece FC, and look what they did.
Roy Keane is coming out saying Liverpool have made too many changes, and Florian Wirtz is nowhere to be seen, and they need another striker, and yada yada yada. Look, circumstances dictate to us to what Roy Keane spouts at the end of the game.
This is valid. This is true. All right, let's go back to Szoboszlai. He was asked by a different reporter. Let's see. He said, when you practice all the time, now I should mention Trent because he was taking the free kicks in the past. Finally, I could have my chance and did it. It's a little bit of a jab there at Trent. I think he has been waiting in the wings. We know that he takes these shots for his national team, so it was nice for him to get this opportunity. He continues, I knew Raya likes to jump behind the ball. It's an unbelievable goalkeeper. If he goes a bit more inside, he saves it. He continues. Let's see. This shot I didn't practice in the past few weeks because we were shooting closer. I had to take the risk and shoot a little bit harder because I don't even have the second half of that quote. I have ruined the second half of that quote. Fill in the blank. Use your
fill in the blank.
Sorry about that, folks. I missed the second half there. Let's jump to Raya next. Raya, in typical Arsenal fashion, decided, there we go, that's what I'm talking about, that he was going to complain about the new ball in an Arteta fashion. So he was talking about the Puma ball. He said, it's different from the Nike ball, so we have to adapt to it. The grip is different. The kick is different.
One thing on that, and I will say this, and I'll defend him a bit. You watch Alisson and his delivery from his feet when he goes long this season so far. It's been bang average. His delivery normally over the last few years has been pinpoint accurate. Virgil has been pretty good when he goes that ball out to Mo, but I honestly think that Alisson's delivery when he goes out to Gakpo, when he goes out to Salah, has been miles off it. So Ray may have a point with that.
Penalty misses too from players that don't normally miss. You've got, Bruno shooting it over the bar. You've got Mo shooting it over the bar. I mean, there may be something to it. He continues. He says we have to adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. So we've got Arteta next. He says, you cannot dominate here for 95 minutes. It's impossible. We navigated those moments without conceding, but at the end, you need to find a way to win these big matches. Well, you didn't today. Going on to Slot's comments. Slot was asked, any news on transfers tomorrow? He said, let's wait and see. I haven't spoken to Richard Hughes yet. He said, I don't think it's a surprise that we're trying to see if we can strengthen the squad, but if that isn't possible, we are more than happy to do that with this team. So he's not saying there's no transfers at all. He's not saying it's going to be a quiet day either, which is typical of, Jurgen Klopp of the past. He is saying they are still trying. So that's a good sign. Let's see. When asked about the game, Slot said, you could use the word boring because neither side created many chances. Sort of echoes what we were saying. On Wirtz, he said it wasn't an injury. It was a welcome to the Premier League. I don't think he knew he could have cramp in so many places.
I love it.
Which, that's good news, I guess. Let's see. He closes it out saying, normally Arsenal and us are able to create more chances in a game, but it says something about the structures. Normally it ends in a draw. And it really does. Like I said, the last 3 years kind of on the run, All of the games have been a draw.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually, a pretty decent result in the end. I think there was one more quote from Arteta. He basically said, because this is Anfield, the game will change. They had those moments without creating any clear moments of danger. So just a little jab from Arteta at the end, which I think is fair.
I think it's fair. Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, you look at some of the... I thought Salah got himself into 3 or 4 really good positions.
His passing has just been a little bit off.
Yeah, his first touch was off. It's madly off for his first one. We just tried to stop the ball dead, give himself a yard to take the shot first time, but it just bounced away from him. The rest of it, I thought, fair is fair. I thought Arsenal defended him really well. There was one that he went with the cross, looking for Gakpo at the far post when he went for the outside of the foot and Raya cut it out. You're talking the difference of a few inches. If he gets that over Raya, it's a tap-in header at the far post. I thought Mo's biggest problem today was the fact that he was isolated for too long. Szoboszlai at right back, unlike Frimpong, unlike Bradley, doesn't have the natural instincts in an attacking sense of a right back. Defensively, look, footballers know how to defend space, but in an attacking sense, where to be as a right back was always going to isolate Mo, and I thought he wasn't helped either by Florian Wirtz not being more to his side. When Szoboszlai was trying to support him, he needed that third person there to be able to make the triangle. And look, again, you're talking about learning what players do and where they need to be. It'll come in time. So just got to have a bit of patience with that. And I don't expect to see Dominic Szoboszlai playing right back too often this season. So
I mean, he's better than Endo, 100%. And I actually thought he did. I think he was fantastic. But I do think that there's a lot of truth behind, these makeshift right backs really hindering Mo. And we saw it last year when Trent was injured, right around that PSG game. Mo's form just dropped off a cliff. He just was absolutely no longer connected to the rest of the team. And I hope that Bradley, I don't know if he's going away. I'd imagine he probably will go away.
Oh, he will, yeah, he will.
But maybe that'll get him some needed minutes just to kind of get fit.
Northern Ireland don't have the luxury of not taking him. He's one of their best players, so he'll definitely go. And the fact that he can hopefully get, 2 70-minute games under his belt before he comes back for, after the international break, will do him the world of good. Because I don't think he's going to be very, very far away, unless potentially he might have had a bit of a setback in the week that we're not aware of. So, yeah, if Jonathan is saying here, Lewis Steele is saying that Konate thinks he just had cramp.
That would be fantastic.
We'll know if it's cramp if he isn't pulled out of the French squad. Yeah. If he's pulled out of the French squad, then could be something else. If he's not pulled out of the French squad, and by all accounts, Hugo Ekitike has been called up to the French squad. Yep. So if Konate isn't pulled, happy days, delighted.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. And I mean, there might have been something to it where, we seem to have gotten to the point where our fitness team on the bench can indicate when they think something's about to go wrong and they pull players right away. Like with Frimpong, they pulled him at halftime, even though Slot wanted to continue to play him. Our fitness team was like, no, there's something going on with his hamstring. And it could have gotten a lot worse. So they may have just pulled Konate off as a precaution, kind of knowing that if he had continued, it would have gotten worse. So, hopefully that's the direction it's going in. Yeah. Okay,
well,
so
the other one here, GN is making a point. And I saw this at halftime. Bradley got spoken to by Slot at halftime in the tunnel, and you could see he was giving him either instructions about potentially coming on, but he was having a lengthy conversation with him right at the edge of the tunnel before they came out.
I wonder if he would have come on if we were down. And we needed that forward thrust.
I think so. And I think the injury to Konate probably nullified any notion that he was going to come on after that, because at that stage, 75, 80 minutes, you're almost at the stage at at that point of the game is don't lose. You can risk trying to win it, but it's not kitchen sink. If we were behind, I think he definitely comes on. But at 0-0, it's one of them. It's almost like a have what you hold. This early in the season, it was definitely a case of don't at any cost, don't lose it. That was my biggest fear before the goal went in. Was we've got this far, we haven't fucking played well at all by any stretch. Don't lose it.
I don't think we played as badly as we did against Newcastle, for example.
No, I thought defensively we were really good.
Yeah.
I want about offensively, but I thought defensively we were very good today. But offensively, it didn't click. We never got in.
It didn't click. Okay. Well, again, standing in for Matt, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you for your man of the match. Could do better. And what's the other one?
What needs to improve?
Needs to improve. Yes, thank you.
I love it, the fact that you have to ask me and I can get all the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. I'm setting you up here.
Well, okay. Look, the man of the match is Dominic Szoboszlai, and it's nothing to do with the goal. The goal is the cherry and the icing on the cake. But defensively, I thought he was excellent. And his passing range from fullback is ridiculously good. His composure on the ball, everything about him screams athlete, screams footballer. And I never, ever, when I was watching him at Leipzig, and if someone said to me he'll be playing at right back against Arsenal in the Premier League, I'd be like, yeah, you're having a laugh, sunshine. We've had a catastrophe if that's the case. He was brilliant. Dallas, fair play to you, pal. Nice one for coming back. Told me to come back in here.
I'm giving you your dues, Kev.
Yeah, fair play to Liverpool. Champions showed why they're champions. Arteta, a lot of thinking for you, buddy. Dallas, welcome to the chat, mate. Fair play to you for coming back. Nice one, pal. Honourable mention, his full-back partner on the other side, Milos Kerkez. I gave him plenty of stick after the Bournemouth game. And today, against Madueke, the fact that he stood on his feet, he managed his space really well, didn't lunge in, didn't get touch tight too often. He defended properly. He was a really, really good. He had a really good game and plenty of energy. Made so many overlapping runs in the second half to free up space and straight back down the other end to get back into position. And also he played that third centre back role really well. Went when he needed to, held his position when he had to. Really happy with him. Could do better. Mo. And it's not his fault on being isolated, but I thought his first touch was a mile off it. And the easy one to go for, there is other players who definitely could improve and be better. But Mo, I thought, today his first touch just wasn't on it. And there's a lot more to come from Mo. Not worried about him, but there's plenty more to come from it.
Well, Chris Brack tends to agree. He says, man of the match, Damo. Honorable mention, Kerkez. Could do better, Salah. So you guys are in sync.
I'm going for a werewolf bath after that.
Well, Chris is sick, so I don't know. Maybe he's just... Anyways. So you definitely took the low-hanging fruit there. I'm going to say man of the match. I'm going to give it to Virgil for marshalling that back line throughout all of those set pieces. I thought his head was really in the game in terms of, he was just on it. He was just on it across the board. I think he marshaled them really well. There was a lot of defensive headers where he just felt really commanding. And I think that his partnership with Kanate really seemed back to its best today. And I think that he is actually coaching Kerkez through these performances. And I think that it's important that we recognize that that's happening because he is very much, the coach on the field. So I thought he was fantastic. Honorable mention I'm going to give to Allison because there were a couple of actually very good saves in there. Not photo saves, but just there was one where he was doing, a great kind of sweeper keeper impression at the very beginning. He came up pretty damn far, about halfway up to the halfway line. And he scared the crap out of me, but he's good. He's good about that. There were a few other just sort of meaningful punches that he got and claims that, again, I just think that our defense was very, very solid. And you've already stolen the other defender that I was going to mention.
There was one in the first half where he come out, I think Szoboszlai was out of position, and he come out of his box really early, really decisively, cleared it straight away, no messing, no fanny blowing, just gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think Konate was much improved this game as well.
Oh yeah.
So he's definitely worth a shout in there. Could do better, I think, is Wirtz for me. And again, it kind of comes back to what we were talking about, where he needs to adapt to the league. He's going to have a couple weeks now. I'm assuming he's going off onto international duty because that's what he does. So maybe just finding his footing back in a familiar place. He knows those German teammates inside out, and maybe just getting a little bit of confidence going. I'm not worried about him, but I just think it's going to take time. And I think that for the price that we paid, I expected him to hit the ground running in a little bit more of a kind of bang. But I think we need to, practice patience there. There's a few people saying Kirkes. No, we definitely mentioned Kirkes earlier.
Yeah, Kirkes got both got my honor. He got my honorable mention.
Honorable mention. So he was very, very much improved.
Real talk here is put Konate's colossal performance today after getting a lot of high-profile media flack. 100%. And he got plenty of flack from us, in his first two performances. His first two performances back-to-back, you've seen him throw in the odd clanger, throughout his Liverpool career. He's had the odd brain fart moment in games, and he can't get out of his own way at times. But he had two of them back-to-back. He had absolute two mares. But today, strong, dominant, aggressive. He was outstanding. No doubt about it.
Well, Chris Brack, who is supposed to be on his sickbed, is doing my job in throwing in some extra quotes here. So from Lewis Steele's Slot, he's reporting that Slot says, I will hear probably tonight if anything will happen. And then Steele says, less than 24 hours to go, but a bid is still expected for Alexander Isak. Let's wait and see on Mark Guehi and outgoings too. So I guess before we leave, let's close out on what we're kind of expecting here with this last 24 hours ish of the transfer window. Kev, where are you at? Because I'm a little bit twitchy.
Yeah, I don't expect a bid for Alexander Isak unless Newcastle invite the bid. I don't think we'll put ourselves in a position to have a bid rejected. I think it's pretty well known that bid is there, and it's well known that Liverpool are probably going to go for 120 with add-ons to 130 or whatever, stick whatever number you're on there. But I honestly think Newcastle are going to have to get this deal for Vissa done, because Vissa's statement today was blunt. It was, what the hell are you doing? Get this sorted out. And unless Newcastle get that one done and over the line, I don't know what's going to happen with Alexander Isak. I think the Guehi one, massive risk for if Palace are playing him and anything happens. But yeah, I think that's probably the more likely of the two.
Okay. I mean, just in case anyone's been living under a rock, the Visa post said, over the past few weeks, there's been increased speculation about my future at Brentford Football Club. As a result, I wanted to speak directly and honestly about exactly where things stand. I have stayed silent for much of the summer, but with just hours remaining of the transfer window, I feel compelled to make it clear that I want to leave Brentford. I believe the club are unduly standing in my way despite a series of fair offers throughout the summer. I have always given 100% for Brentford since the day I signed back in 2021. I am proud of what we have built together and have never taken for granted the opportunity to play for the club. So he's pulling an Isak, which it's kind of a little bit late. But I don't know. I mean, there feels like there's going to be still a few surprises here, and it feels very much like this may be a deal sheet situation tomorrow for for more than just us, but for several clubs.
Yeah.
Which I don't love. I really don't love.
No, I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's the business side of football, and it's the ugly business side of football. You're going to have over the next day clubs looking to fire players out left, right, and centre, whether players like it or not. And you got the flip side of this now, where players really want to move, and clubs won't sanction it. You've seen it with Chelsea with Jackson, you've seen it with Brentford with Vissa, Strand Larson, another one at Wolves, and Alexander Isak for us, and potentially Mark Guehi as well. We don't know. I mean, Jonathan makes a great point here. You know, a bloke at work.
Oh, sorry.
A bloke at work whose sister's Slot's hairdresser said the Isak deal is done. He's holed up in a hotel in Wigan waiting to sign the papers. 100%. I've heard the same rumours. Madge was saying, is there 100? She thought that there was a bid in at 130 million. No, that's been reported that the Liverpool are willing to go to that, but the way I read it is Liverpool won't put that bid in until Newcastle are going to accept. You know, if this is going to happen publicly from a Liverpool Football Club point of view, it will not be a banana skin. It'll only happen publicly from Liverpool's side if the deal is going to happen at all. You know, there's loads of speculation, loads of ITK accounts putting stuff out left, right, and centre, but from the Liverpool talking heads that you'd expect to hear this from first, you know, it's speculation, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard, you know, the tin hat theory that Liverpool is waiting until the absolute very last minute so that Newcastle can't come back with a counter, so that they have to accept kind of this lower offer. I don't know. No. I think that all of this is speculation, and we all are just going to have to sit tight for the next 24 hours or so. Figure out what happens.
Yeah, one thing's for certain: when the lads come on at 10 o'clock tonight, they'll definitely have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you know, and they'll have perspectives on this as well, so it's definitely worth checking that out. A little bit of housekeeping before we go. One of those housekeeping tasks is the fact that there's a show this evening. So you're going to see Gav, you're going to see Emmett, you're going to see Keith come on and, you know, not only assess the game, not in the way that we did play-by-play, but just sort of in broader strokes this evening. They'll talk about transfers. And then we've got a Patreon extra show that comes where we are going to kind of go into a little bit more finer details with regards to the game today. We will do some analysis with video as well, which is something that we can do on Patreon. So that'll be on our Patreon show. There's a link down below. There's also kind of like a QR code over there that you can click, not clink. Oh my gosh. That was fun. Hopefully we'll be clinking glasses at the end of this transfer window.
Very good.
I'm going to try. That's the best I can do, guys. I'm sorry. And then going on, I believe, over into Monday and Tuesday, we've got our Ref Watch on Patreon as well, which should be a worthy watch this week. We're going to go into all of the mistakes that have happened, talk them through in great detail. I think that we're a little bit better than, you know, the shit that Sky puts out, but that's just me being biased. So you can check that out and let us know if you think that you like it any better or worse, and just throw that in the comments. And then finally, we are sponsored by NordVPN. We talk a little bit about this in every show, so I appreciate for people that have kind of heard this before for sticking with us. They do sponsor us. We don't have a lot of sponsors. We really only use them to help kind of keep the show ticking over and keep the channel running. So it is a wonderful VPN service that, you know, can protect your devices for anything that you're using it for. So whether that's for games or shows or, you know, whatever nefarious things that you like to do on the dark web, all of those things are covered by NordVPN. So there's also a link down below for that. Other than that, Kev, is there anything else that you want to say other than the Reds are fucking awesome?
3 points in the bag, 9 from 9. 9 from 9.
I think we all would have absolutely snapped your hand off if this was offered.
Hey, look, we know the performances are going to come. We just know, you know,
and we know they're not perfect. Like, there's going to be people in the chat being like, "You're glossing over the fact that they're awful." No. We're not.
Go back
We understand it.
Go back and press play again and listen closely, my friends. Liverpool are far from the finished product, but being far from the finished product and having 9 from 9 is a nice position to be going into the first international break. I'll take that all day, every day.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of us would snap your hand off, and I think that's the sign of champions, to be honest. I mean, you look at, Real Madrid teams of old, they were able to kind of win when they didn't deserve it. It feels very much like we've done that, and we've done it in style. We've done it in like with so much entertainment. I don't think I've ever seen 3 winning goals in a row that are just going to be kind of on the show reel for the entire season. I just think it's amazing what we've done. So far, so good. Everyone here, just make sure you come back in, I guess it's 2 hours. Yeah. I mean, so there's going to be a show in 2 hours. So yeah, come back, check out the guys. They're going to have a fresh take on things, and you guys won't have to listen to me and Kev.
We're getting a break.
This is our 4th show.
Shut up. We're going to be in the chat as well.
No, we will be in the chat. But I think, there's a few people that probably want, a little bit of a difference of opinion. Exactly. But anyways, we're going to cut it out now. Check out the rest of, that Villa Crystal Palace game. Maybe scout Guehi for us. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for joining us, and up the fucking Reds.